Hello, hello on this July 4th. If you're in the US, uh, welcome. Thanks for joining me, even on this 4th of July. If you're joining me from other places, welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. Today, we are talking about how goal setting is going to help your tween develop a strong sense of identity. And you're thinking, how can goal setting and identity, how are those connected? How will learning how to set and achieve goals help them develop their identity? That's what we're going to talk about today. This is something I have been chewing over for a while here, and we're going to dive in. In this session, we're going to talk about how goal setting helps your tween develop skills that help shape their identity, why process goals trump outcome goals. And we'll talk about what that means, and how you can set your tween up for success by helping them set a goal this summer. Yes, we can have goals in the summer. It's not limited to the school year. And at the end, I will let you know about an exciting new $9 a month membership for tweens that I have opening up this fall. So if you are joining me here live today, please type #live in the chat. If you are joining on the replay, welcome. I'd love to connect. Type #replay in the chat and we can connect there. So have you talked about goal setting with your tween? Have you done goal setting? How have they responded to that? If they are perhaps on the young side of tweens, maybe they are not quite ready to think of like the abstract side of goal setting. And so this is something that, we're going to continue to talk on throughout those tween years, and you'll see them grow and develop in those skills as they are learning to set goals and, as they are developing their identity. Excuse me. So let's dive in here. How does goal setting help your tween develop their identity? Well, a couple of things. Our identity is shaped by a bunch of different things that there's a bunch of different things that influence it. Family, friends, environment, just different experiences. And as we think about goal setting and identity, what goal setting forces you to do is to prioritize things. And when you prioritize things, you are planting your flag in a camp saying, this is what is important to me. Because if it's not important, you're not going to set a goal around it. So goal setting forces you to think about what is important. And it forces you to budget time for that thing that is important. So we're going to develop some time management skills. Oh, this thing is important to me. I'm going to dedicate time resources to that. It also helps with critical thinking as they're going, how can I solve the problem of achieving this goal? I want to do this thing. How can I get from where I'm at now to over there? And the cool thing is that maybe you've experienced this with your own goal setting and working through to goals, is as you have to think it through, you either realize, no, I don't actually want this goal. This is ridiculous. What am I thinking? Either I don't have the skill set for it yet, like I don't have the skills to do all of these things I would need to achieve that goal. So then you realize, oh, I need to achieve this smaller goal first on the path to that. Or you realize, I don't actually want to spend my time doing these things that I would need to do to achieve that goal. It's not a bad thing. That's helped shaping your identity. For example, think about a personal example that you've had What are you working towards? Because if you can think about what you're working towards and how that works, then you'll be able to talk your tween to it through it. And also, they'll see you working towards a goal and they'll see how you're doing it and they'll go, "Oh, okay. Failure is part of the journey. Thinking through is part of the journey. Small steps, doing the mundane, all of those are part of the journey to that." For example, I am practicing more piano now because I thought, I want to learn this specific song. In order to do that, I had to say, oh, I'm going to have to bump something out of my schedule in order to put time in my schedule so I can accomplish that goal. Do I want to do that? That's helping shape my identity, who I am, what I'm about. And the same is true for your tween. Say, for example, they want to play volleyball at school next year. I don't know, random example. So what skills do they need? What do they need to do in order to achieve that goal, in order to even like try out for the team? Then they have to like think back. What skills do I need? How am I going to get those skills? Are my parents willing to drive me where I need to go in order to practice? Are those the kind of people that I want to hang out with? Do I want to dedicate my time to that? And if they answer yes, so these are all critical thinking things. Then they go, okay, well, do I have time for that? Then they need to organize the time, organize their schedule, go, oh, so instead of playing video games, I need to be practicing these skills for volleyball or basketball or whatever it is. So they're having to choose. So that's helping shape their identity. So they're going to be better organized, develop critical thinking skills, and also communication. As you are working towards a goal, it's never in a vacuum. Rarely in a vacuum. Your actions always affect other people. And in the case of your tween, whatever goal they're working towards, they're going to have to communicate with you about that because, let's be honest, you're probably going to end up driving. So some of their goals are going to be dependent on whether you can drive, which means they need to communicate with you. Mom and Dad, would you be willing to drive me? Would you be willing to wait for me? How late are you willing to stay up? Are you willing to give up your weekends? They need to communicate these things. You need to communicate back and forth. They're going to be frustrated about things. They're going to have to learn how to regulate their emotions as you talk, learn how to actually have a conversation and work it through, even if it is uncomfortable, to get to the point where there's something that's workable for everyone. So that is how goal setting, just a glimpse of how goal setting will help your tween as they're developing their identity. So goal setting is something definitely worth pursuing. But there are outcome goals and there are process goals. So outcome goals are things like if your tween says, I'd like to earn $100 this summer. So the outcome is that $100. All right. But outcome goals assume that you control all of the bits to get to that outcome, which isn't always the case. So sometimes it might be, yes, I want to earn $100. That's great. So the focus is on $100, $100, $100. How can I get that $100? No matter what, and you feel like a failure if you don't reach that goal of getting $100. Now, a process goal is slightly more productive, and it's still, you can still say, I would like to get $100, but the difference is you're not just randomly like got $100 on the brain all the time. You're thinking, let's work it backwards. What actions do I need to take regularly in order for it to be likely that I'm going to reach that goal of getting $100 this summer? So what do they need to do? So this is that critical thinking again. This is that even like prioritizing, planning, right? How can I get from where I'm at now to that $100? What are the actions that I need to take? If I have 2 months over the summer, how can I earn $50 a month? Okay, now break that down. Okay, I need to earn what, $12.50 a week? Is that right? How can I earn that much money each week? What do I have to do? And then they need to assess, well, what jobs can I do? How am I going to get those jobs? Okay, so if I need to ask 5 people if I can mow their lawn for every one person that says yes, then how many people do I need to ask about mowing their lawn? So then they're seeing I'm taking these actions, which make it highly likely that I'm going to reach this goal, rather than just wishing and hoping like, oh, well, yes, it's my goal to make $100. Not sure how I'm going to get there. Process says we're going to regularly take these steps, and these actions are most likely going to lead to that outcome. And you develop as a person as you do that. Also, as you're creating that process, that is helping develop your identity too. You're developing this growth mindset like, oh, okay, well, I asked these people, that didn't work. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try this way, or what's a better way to ask? So they keep having to think, instead of like this fixed mindset, like I'm not good at sales, people aren't going to hire me to mow their lawn. They have to think, oh, they said no when I asked like this. Maybe I can learn how to ask a different way, and then they'll say yes. Oh, they said yes when I asked this way. Maybe I'll try that again. It's this continual growth that develops their character, that develops their identity, that develops their self-confidence, all in this process goal. Then when it comes to the school year, then they think, oh, all right, I'd like to do well in this class. What do I have to do? I need to work it backwards. What am I willing to make time for? Oh, that's what it's going to take to make an A? How do I balance that with all this other stuff? It's developing their character, developing their identity, and you can help them do that. So how can you help them set a goal this summer? So we talked about how it helps them develop their identity, outcome versus process. Now let's get down to practicalities. How can you actually get your tween to sit down, think about goal setting, and not be like, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. The thing is, it needs to be something that they want to do. Even if you feel like, really, that's your goal? That seems kind of silly. Let it go. Unless it's, illegal, immoral, unethical, going to be harmful, something, let them have a goal. Let them work the process. Let them see the result. It's going to shape them. Then they can see, oh, I wanted to do this thing. This is what it took to do that thing, and I achieved this goal. I can do this. They're going to get more self-confident. Now, you might want to guide and direct. Totally fine, depending where your child is, in their journey for independence. So think about setting a goal this summer. You have 2 months? A little bit less than 2 months, let's say 6 weeks. So what can be accomplished in 6 weeks? So talk to your tween and say, hey, before we start the next school year, whether you're homeschooling or whether they're in public school, private school, whatever kind of education you have got going on, think about, in 6 weeks, what's one thing you want to do? And like I said, you might want to guide them. And they need to buy into it. They need to want to achieve that. They need to want to prioritize it, which can be tricky. But perhaps they have a book that they have been wanting to read. Maybe you have a book that you've been wanting them to read, and they've been kind of like, not so sure. You're probably going to have to keep pushing them. But what if by the end of the summer, they wanted to earn some money because they wanted to buy something that was maybe not in your budget, or you told them that if they wanted it, they had to buy it. So back to that $100. In 6 weeks, could they earn $100? Maybe, maybe not. Like, figure out what's reasonable, and then figure out what are some ways that you could accomplish that. What actions would you need to take? Help them work it backwards. The key is get them to write it down. So sit on your hands. Do not write it down for them. If you're like me at all, you just want to get in there and just write it down and do it, because you can see from the beginning to the end already, because you've created lots of goals and you know what it takes to accomplish the goal and get it done, and to break it down and what needs to be done. They don't have that experience yet. So sit on your hands, let them do it, walk them through. And here's the end goal. They want to buy the thing. Great. So now ask them, what do you think you could do to earn money to buy that thing? Get them to write down as many ideas as possible. Even if they're horrible ideas, even if they're not realistic, even if they're silly, it doesn't matter. We just want them to get their brain thinking. What are some ideas? And usually you've got to go through quite a few kind of ridiculous ideas, or ideas that you know won't work. Let them write them down. It's all good. And then talk them through. So which of these ideas involve other people, and which of these ideas could you be solely responsible for? So start with those, because if achieving a goal is dependent on somebody else, it's harder to achieve the goal. You're dependent on whether they're available or not available to do whatever the thing is. So for them to totally own this goal, see if there's activities that they could do that would help them reach the outcome that they want, buying that thing that they wanted, that they could do, so that activities they could do on their own. And then from that list, then say, okay, so which of these do we have the skills for, resources for, whatever already? As in, which are the most likely that would take kind of the least amount of effort, the least amount of resistance to get moving forward with? Don't start with the hardest thing. We want them to achieve their goal. We want them to taste that success. We want them to use this goal setting to help them develop their identity and their character. So once they have decided, yeah, there's these 3 things that I think I can do. Okay, great. So now look at each of those 3 things. Maybe they can babysit. Maybe they can mow lawns. Maybe they're pulling weeds for somebody, some neighbor. Whatever the case, pick one of those things and then say, okay, so how are you going to get that work? What are you going to do? And get them to work it backwards. You might have to prompt, but don't take over. Like, give them perhaps a nudge or something to think about without giving the answer, and give lots of encouragement, because they need to try it. This is part of this identity forming. So then by the time they're done, they're going to have a plan, a game plan for some processes, some things that they can do in order to end up with that outcome over the next 6 weeks. So maybe they decided that they were going to babysit. Okay, who can they babysit for? All right, so how are they going to talk to those people? So they're going to have to find out their contact information. They're going to have to contact them. They're going to have to figure out how much do they charge. When are they available? All of those things. But they're going to be motivated because they know, oh, if I do this thing, it's highly likely I'm going to be able to buy the thing that I really want. They're going to own it. And then they're going to budget time for it. They're going to think through how to make it happen. So they're working their planning, organizing, time management, critical thinking skills, communication. They're having to talk to people about the work. All of those life skills just from that goal setting. So you can see what they can accomplish this summer. And then once they've done that and they're so proud of themselves, they worked really hard, they worked it out, they figured out how to do it, they earned the money. Make a big deal out of the fact that they now have the money that they earned because they set the goal, they worked it backwards, they did the process to earn that thing. Celebrate with them. Because they're going to need to be setting a lot more goals. So if they can have those small wins, it's going to shape them and strengthen them and build also their growth mindset. Like, oh, I had to overcome these many obstacles, but I did it. Next time the obstacles might be harder, but they'll remember when they succeeded and they'll push forward. So that is how a little sliver of how goal setting will help your tween develop their identity. Why process goals trump outcome goals, and how you can set your tween up for success by helping them set a goal this summer. Thank you so much for joining me today. And just a little note, if you're interested in learning more about the Life Skills Club opening up this September, type waitlist in the chat and I will connect with you and get you the details. So until next time, keep talking to your tween.